Now, let's go. Let's do a little bit of an acceleration test. Whoosh! That'll get you into trouble. In this video, I'll be talking about my ownership experience with the Q45, Infiniti Q45. I have owned two in my lifetime, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to get into the car, drive it, do an acceleration test, talk about just a lot of the features, interior, exterior, etc., sprinkle in some footage, some pictures, etc. So I hope this helps you out. There's not a whole lot of information on YouTube regards the Infiniti Q45, so I hope I can shed some light about what this vehicle is all about and show you how it drives, accelerates, and all that good stuff. So stay tuned, let's get into it. The Infiniti Q45, yes, that's right, you heard it. The Infiniti brand used to use the nomenclature beginning with Q quite a few years ago. They went away from that with the G's and the M's and so on and so forth. Now they've come full circle recently, and they've basically named all their cars Q something or other. I can't even tell the difference anymore. I wouldn't even want to be bothered to learn unless I was in the market to buy a brand new Q something from Infiniti, but apparently they were tied up in a lawsuit as well. This is just a couple of fun facts before I let this video roll, with Audi, because Audi was using the Q as well as the nomenclature for their vehicles as well. So they were in a protracted legal dispute. They settled it years ago apparently, and anyway, let's let it roll, not waste time too much with these fun facts. Let's go. So, as promised, driving the Infiniti Q45, Infiniti's flagship sedan in the mid-2000s. Infiniti is the Nissan brand's luxury division, for those of you that are new to the brand. And this Q45 is called the F50, I believe, and it is the third generation and the last generation of Infiniti's Q series for the full-size sedans. Now, this is my second Q45. My first one was a 2002, and it was a premium as well. Had all the luxury amenities, the reclining back seats, everything that this car has as well, being a premium 2004 model. This one added the adaptive cruise control, the GPS system, and a backup camera as well. So this video though, this part of the video is really just to give you an impression on what it's like to drive, you know, a flagship sedan from Infiniti from the mid-2000s. This came out in 2002. It ran until 2006. Just some basics about the car. I've probably already talked about this, but it's got a race-derived 4.5 liter V8 pushing out 340 horsepower. At the time, was more powerful than the Mercedes S-Class, the BMW 7 Series. It was more powerful than the ALS by far. And the reason that is the Infiniti crew took this engine. It was actually derived from Nissan's racing program at the time, so it's a very high-tech, incredibly bulletproof, smooth unit of an engine. Infiniti kind of massaged it to make it nice and smooth and run really well. In fact, this is one of the cars, and I had a BMW 850i. They used to brag about being able to put a coin vertically on the engine and run it. Well, Infiniti, this 4.5 liter engine, they can do the same thing. You can put a loonie, that's a Canadian dollar, on its edge on this car, and the engine will run, and that coin will not fall down. So a little bit of a claim to fame there, big bragging rights. So driving this car, I have to say it's really the best of all worlds. Even today, it's 2022 now, even today, this car seems to be, no, I wouldn't say further ahead than a lot of modern cars, but it's certainly kind of holding its own. And what I mean by that is all the luxury amenities and all the things that Infiniti, all the engineers, what they thought about putting into this car. I mean, they just, all these little details from, you know, the sun visors, for example, and I'm not going to show you while I'm driving, but I'll put a picture here. They have sun visors for the front, the side, they extend, and
you know, you can really keep the sun out of your eyes, and that's a fantastic thing, because there's nothing worse than in the winter or summer for that matter, depending on where you live. You know, the sun just kind of sits low in the sky and it's always in your eyes, and you can really get rid of that in this car. They also put this black patch above the rear view mirror where the visors actually don't go, to block the sun from that area, where I think we're all irritated by that. It's like the visors, the mirror, and then there's like this sun that peeks in. Well, Infiniti put a blackout, like just a black swath of plastic or something like that across it. It's really thoughtful. The controls, though, in the mid stack here, you know, they're a little bit confusing to get used to, because I can see where the Japanese crew, the Infiniti crew, were coming up with their ideas to make it really user-friendly, but in a sense, they, I think, overthought it a little bit too much. So, for example, you have the automatic climate control for the driver on the left, you have the automatic climate control for the passenger on the right, but then you have the audio controller in the middle. Now that is not, I don't think I've ever seen that setup on any other vehicle that I've ever driven or owned. And I understand where they got there, because they probably thought, hey, the passenger wants to have control of their automatic climate control, so let's put it over there. And the driver wants to have it within reach as well. But then having the audio, the volume button and so on in the middle is just, it's not natural to reach for the middle and kind of search for that. So you end up hitting the wrong dials quite a bit of times when you're first driving this car. You really have to kind of study it first and look at it. So as far as everything else is concerned, the ergonomics are excellent. It's comfortable. The seats are amazing, way ahead of their time. The steering wheel is beautiful. It's posh. It's got this wooden trim on it, which is really beautiful, and it's held up impeccably. This car has about 90,000 miles on it, maybe 80,000 if I do the kilometer to miles conversion. And the fact of the matter is it drives as though it really came off the showroom floor. Infiniti at the time, if I remember correctly, when I went into the showroom and saw this car sitting in Vancouver, Canada, inside the Nissan in the Auto Mall in Richmond, I looked at this car and they had it next to an M45, which was a smaller version of the same car, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, look at that. Look, it's just, they dropped this thing right out of space. And you know, a salesman came over. I was a younger guy, so they didn't pay too much attention to me, but the guy was bored. He started showing me all the features of the car, and I was just like, I was blown away. And now today, you know, what are we? We're 18 years later, and I've had two of these, and I'm still in awe, really, of the comfort and the thought and the power and just the overall build quality of this car. I think it's one of the, I don't know, best hidden secrets when it comes to full-size luxury sedans. I mean, obviously you have your BMWs, your S-Classes, your Audi A6s, and so on and so forth. At the time, this was just so much more superior than those cars. And let's not forget, the German cars, I've had them all. I've had 5 Series, I've had 3 Series, 5 Series, 7 Series, 6 Series. And you've seen me review a couple of them on my channel here. I had the 650i, the 550i. I mean, they were nightmares. As far as the maintenance, the drivability was fantastic, but they were absolute nightmares to maintain. And you know, I got left stranded a few times by BMWs, and that is not a good feeling. This Infiniti, I would drive this across Brazil. I would drive it across Canada, United States, winter, summer, spring, fall. I wouldn't worry a bit. There would never be that thought in the back of my mind that this car is going to let me down or just break down or do something stupid. Whereas with the German cars, if they're a few years old, I mean, I think we can all agree, they're just not reliable. And the maintenance and everything, all the upkeep that you need to be pouring money at it, just, you know, every year when it's out of warranty, it's just ridiculous. So I've kind of moved toward, like, if I want a big luxury flagship cruiser now, I'm not looking for S-Classes and 7 Series, because I've gone down that road so many times and I've been burned. I've been stuck with huge repair bills, oil leaks, alternators going battery sucking them dry, leaving me on the side of the highway, wheels breaking. I mean, you know, you name it. I've had the problems. 335i convertible, leaky roof, water poured into the back receptacle in the trunk and fried my amp. It killed the entire audio system, even the chime system. So, I mean, I think I've seen it all with BMW and Mercedes. Mercedes not quite as bad as BMW as far as maintenance is concerned, but look, at this particular point in my life where, you know, I want to, you know, grab a car, an affordable car that has everything that I would really want it to have, you know, minus Bluetooth, unfortunately, for this particular car. And even the BMW 7 Series didn't have Bluetooth back then as well, during those same years where the Q45 was being built. They did in the later half of the Q45 years, the BMW 7 did add the Bluetooth to the car, so I'm not going to be completely unfair to them. The S-Class, the S500, I don't really know, to be honest with you. So I did have a Mercedes E-Class of the same era, and it did not have Bluetooth, and so that was a bit of a drawback. So, okay, let's get back to the car. I mean, listen, this car has 340 horsepower, as I mentioned earlier, 333 pounds of foot-pounds of torque. I always get that backwards. And this car is below 4,000 pounds, like it's 3,900 something, which is unbelievable that the Nissan and Infiniti engineers were able to keep this car pretty lightweight. I mean, it's a big car. It's loaded with airbags, safety, GPS systems, reclining seats in the back, heated, cooled seats, adaptive cruise control. I mean, you name it, this car has it. I do apologize for the camera shake. I'm using a heavier cell phone now, the iPhone 13 Pro Max, versus my XR that I used to make these videos with, which would not bounce up and down quite as bad as this one. So I'm just gonna head up to the highway here and accelerate a little bit. You know, we're kind of running into a little bit of traffic here, so I'm not sure how possible that's gonna be, but let's try it out. I'll be back in just a few minutes. So I'm just getting onto the on-ramp up to the highway here. I'm gonna reach behind the steering wheel and switch it to sport setting, and let's do a little acceleration test here. Let's get onto the highway here, over to the passing lane. Okay, just a little bit of traffic ahead of me. Just give me a second to back off a bit. And we're gonna see what this 340 horsepower, 3,900 pound car, luxury flagship Infiniti can do. And I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna put a smile on my face because I know what it can do. So, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Whoosh! Whoosh! Oh! I mean, wow. It never fails to impress me. This is, again, you know, this engine was taken right from Nissan's racing team. So you can imagine the technology they packed into this thing. And it's like, I'm not going to tell you how fast I'm going, because if there's any cops watching this video, it just might land me in trouble. But the bottom line is this. I am traveling pretty fast right now. RPMs are up to about 3,000. And, I mean, it's just so smooth, so quiet, so tranquil.